want to introduce the panelists today. First, we have that end. We have Charity REEB, and we'll let the first question to all four be, how did you get to where you are now? And so I won't tell you what I'll let them tell you exactly what they're doing now. So we'll just say Charity REEB. Everybody's from Springfield. Brandon Porter, Natalie Francis, and DALIE Hand. So we'll start with you, Charity. Would you tell us a little bit about your story from Evangel to now?
To present day. Okay. Well, I graduated from Evangel, so it's kind of funny for me to say recent graduate. It was almost 10 years ago now. So I graduated and did 2 years in corporate advertising with a food company, or a ad firm that focuses on the food industry. So primarily food advertising clients that I had there. M&M's Mars was my primary client when I was at the ad agency. And then moved on from there to private consulting. So my journey in doing that was really organic. It was just through building network relationships with people and meeting a woman named Beth Grant. I just asked her if I could serve their ministry, Project Rescue. They work with victims of sex trafficking in India. They actually work in a lot of different countries now, but back then it was just India that they were primarily focused on. And I had recently done a study in marketing to women, and knowing that women was, a big market for mobilizing people to do something about the human trafficking issue, that I felt that I had something to serve. So I just basically asked them if I could serve them, and they said yes. And before I knew it, I quit my job in the corporate world and started doing the same thing that I was doing for the corporate world for nonprofits and ministries. So my first client was Project Rescue, and then I started working with Assemblies of God World Missions, primarily with the EURASIA region, and just helping them to develop really any creative way to mobilize people to the mission field. So if you look at the EURASIA region, there's over 44 countries, and the majority of the area is completely unreached by missionaries or by the gospel message. There's no missionaries, churches, or national believers there for the most part. Some people call it the 1040 window. So we really focused in on brand first, and then developed for them all different types of campaigns and experiential events. One experiential event that I was a part of developing was called EURASIA Experience. And then we moved into social entrepreneurism as well in the development of a coffee company called EURASIA Cafe. So did a lot of work with them, have also worked with a lot of nonprofits overseas. Over the years had the honor of working with missionaries and nonprofits in over 55 countries at least. So that's kind of my background and experience. 2 years ago, I started serving George Wood, who's the executive director of the Assemblies of God, and working with him on just strategy and direction for the organization. And I'm currently working on some campaigns with him, one called The Human Right, which is just that everyone deserves the right to know about Jesus. So that's a large campaign that we have in the hopper. So 2 years ago, I kind of made a strategic move from my business being just me to expanding from myself to having employees. So the name of my company now is Do Good Business, and we focus on first translating leaders' passion. So we work with people with passionate causes, whether it be a social business or a non-for-profit or ministry endeavor. Right now, we're primarily focused in the ministry sector just because of where we're at here in Springfield, Missouri, but have a background in multiple different types of clients that we've worked with. And I have 4 employees, one of my wonderful employees here with me today, Stephanie Anderson. So that's just a little bit about me and what I do. But we really focus on empowering leaders helping them to put strategy behind their vision and then bring that strategy alive with art and experiences. So we're very much focused on the experiential side of advertising and marketing.
Charity, what was your major?
It was marketing and management.
Okay, good, thank you. Brandon, would you grab the mic in front of you? I think we're going to need that. And tell us about your trip from Evangel to where you are now.
Sure. Yeah, I graduated from Evangel in 2010 with an accounting and management degree. I took about 4 months off and just secluded myself and studied for the CPA exam. I just wanted to get it out of the way kind of thing. So I did that and passed that, and then I started my job at Grant Thornton January of 2011 and moved to Tulsa, Oklahoma, and worked there for 3 years in public accounting. And after just one day I was driving and kind of wanted to come back to Springfield because my family and a lot of my friends are here. So I was going to work for a public accounting firm here, and my managing partner ended up saying that I could work from Springfield out of the Tulsa office. So now I just I roll out of bed in the mornings onto my computer and kind of travel as needed type thing. Most of the clients that I audit are oil and gas, being in Oklahoma and Texas and the Dakotas. We also audit trucking and manufacturing. I also have a financial institution. So they're public and private companies, audit both. I have 2 publics and 2 private companies that I audit. And I've been there about 4 years now.
Okay, good, thank you. We'll just bring it on down to Natalie Francis.
Hello. I graduated in December of 2011, I guess. I had my one final class with Mr. Dana, Strategic Management, that semester. And then while I was there, I was also doing the Accelerated MBA program. I think I was the first one to complete that program, and I hope a lot more of you guys are participating. If you're young, please do it. See Mr. Dana or me if you have questions. But I highly recommend that program. It was really great because I was able to basically do dual credit while I was here and at MSU and got my MBA completed with only 1 extra year of school after finishing at Evangel. So when it was, a semester before I graduated, so May of 2011, I decided I needed an internship. Because that's what you're supposed to do when you're here. So I went out searching for an internship, had a few different offers, and ended up settling on a sales and marketing internship with Liberty Mutual Insurance here in Springfield. We had a tiny little hole-in-the-wall office at the time with 3 reps. It was really small. We've grown tremendously since then, but I took that internship and worked there that last semester I was here, and then basically said, thanks for the opportunity. I need to move on now. I got a graduate assistantship at Missouri State, so I need to do that, but it's been great. And they said, no, don't leave. What do we need to do? And so we kind of came up with a really flexible schedule where I was able to do my MBA, 20 hours of grad assistantship at Missouri State, and work there part-time. So it was pretty nuts. I had just gotten married and life was crazy, but I was able to get all that completed in that last year. And then when I finished, they said, we have a sales position open for you. You're already licensed. You know the gig. This is what the pay structure looks like. It's yours if you want it. Which we have a really strict and really kind of tedious interview process that they let me skip since I was already an intern, which is another benefit of being an intern. But so I said, you know what? This door is wide open. So I just walked through it, and I've been there as a sales rep since January of, I believe, 2013 then, so a little over a year and a half. And yeah, I'm sure I'll get to talk more about kind of what I do, but our products are, if you've seen our commercials, auto, home, and life insurance is what I sell. And I have, a book of business that I manage, and teammates that, work under me and help me and things like that. So it's a really good company. We're one of the top 5 insurance companies in the world. And in the U.S. and on the Fortune 100. So it's kind of crazy going from a small private school to a really big company. But I'm fortunate enough that my office is pretty much, actually everyone there that I work with is a Christian. Most of us all go to James River. So it's really kind of a cool coincidence that I'm at a Fortune 100 company, and I'm working alongside Christians. So it's really cool. So yeah, that's kind of my path.
Hey.
Hi everybody, I guess James River really does rule the world. But I work for a large company too. I work for Bass Pro Shops. Quite a journey to go the world. But I work for a large company too. I work for Bass Pro Shops. Quite a journey to get there. So I graduated from Evangel with a marketing and management degree in 2012. And during my senior year at Evangel, I had an internship at The Great Game of Business, which is a consulting firm here in Springfield. So after I graduated, they offered me a part-time job, which I accepted, which was great because it gave me the ability to gain some more experience, make enough money to keep the lights on, but still search for my first big boy job. So that took about 3 months, and then finally I got a call from Bass Pro. And after 5 interviews and a 1.5-month long process, I finally was hired at Bass Pro into internet marketing. So in my role there, I manage all their social media efforts. So Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and the like.
Pinterest?
Pinterest, yeah.
Oh, I thought you said you refused.
Well, I let somebody else handle that of a different gender, but I do oversee it. And so that's really fun because we're about to reach 4 million customers across all of our social platforms. And so that's fun from a marketing perspective to have that type of reach. Actually, just last week calculated my impressions since I've been at Bass Pro, and I'm a little bit over 1 billion. So that's kind of a fun aspect of marketing. I also manage the email marketing program there, which isn't as new or shiny or fun as social media, but it's really the cornerstone of e-commerce retail marketing and an essential piece. And then kind of a little bit of another piece that I do there is website promotions, so shipping offers, discounts, things of that nature.
Okay, great, thank you. What about your job now do you like the most?
I play on Facebook all day and Twitter. That's pretty fun. But that actually gets annoying after a while when it's your job. But a little bit more fun than other jobs, I think. But really what I love about my job, well, I guess we can just do a little survey. Who here has not been to Bass Pro? Shameful. If you raise your hand, that's shameful. Well, get you a gift card. We can make sure that you go there. But it's just the brand itself is what I love most about my job. So we have cities lobbying, petitioning for us to come to their area, and they get mad if we pick one city over the other. You don't get that with other brands. No one is upset if a Macy's decides not to come to town or if they can't go to Olive Garden to get their spaghetti. But they are upset if Bass Pro does not come to their city. So our average customer travels 50 miles to our store.
How many?
50 miles,
okay.
yeah, and spends...
Not the 200 I said in class this week, sorry.
Well, you probably got it from that. So 50 miles to the store, but they spend 2 hours in the store. It's unheard of in the retail space. We've actually had multiple people request to have their ashes spread at our stores. Multiple people have gotten married at our stores, including me. Not really. My wife hates when I say that, but I got married at the conference center at Bass Pro. But there are a lot of people who get married at our stores. So that kind of brand engagement makes marketing really, really fun and a little bit easier in some ways. So that's my favorite part about work.
Okay, insurance is probably not quite that exciting, but my favorite part about what I do is probably the flexibility and the autonomy that I get. Group projects. I mean, that word makes people cringe in here. And what I really love about what I do is I'm almost my own boss. I do have a manager, but I check in with him once a week and say hi in passing. So I basically, do my own thing all day. Make my calls, talk to my clients, go to their homes, meet with people. So I love the fact that I can kind of make my own schedule, come in when I want. Like this morning I worked from home because I didn't want to drive all the way to the office and then out here. So I worked from home for 3 hours and I'll go to the office this afternoon. So that's really cool. I also really love the fact that I dictate how much money I make. I mean, a lot of you guys are business majors because you want to make money someday. And so, sales, I remember Mrs. Fletcher's sales promotion class, my junior year, hi. I remember one of the first things she said was, well, if you want to make money in business, you can work really hard and really long and be an accountant, or you can sell. I remember her saying that in that class, and when we watched Zig Ziglar, he basically said the same thing. And there's a lot of money in sales, and so it's been a blessing as far as working our way through school, getting my husband through school, having an income, and being able to shoot for bonuses, and that's what's really fun to me. I like the competition in the office, and that's one of my top 5 strengths is competition and achiever. So sales and sales goals and things like that are really motivating to me. And they send me on trips, which is awesome. So they have sales contests that I just got back from Vegas for 3 days. I won a 5-day, 5-star resort vacation to Dana Point, California in May. And I'm gonna be going hopefully to Miami next May if I stay on pace. So it's really fun working for a Fortune 100 company. There's a lot of perks that go with it. And like I said, I have a really good team. I have a great boss, goes to James River, good teammates that are all Christians. And so it's a good work environment for sure. I mean, sales is, if any of you guys have done sales even part-time, you know how stressful it is. So there's a lot of stress that goes into it and a lot of hours. So it's definitely something to do while you're young and have energy. Because I don't know if I can see myself working this hard when I'm 50. But, who knows? Because God kind of directs our path. So, but yeah, I like the autonomy, the flexibility, and the fact that I can kind of make as much as I want to make, work as hard as I want to work. So.
Well, my job isn't quite as glamorous as the Bass Pro thing either, but I will say this, accounting isn't as boring as everyone keeps making it seem to be. I know it's got like a bad stereotype of just like, hanging out in the corner, doing a bunch of numbers, and I really do deal with numbers, so I'm not saying it doesn't, but the one thing I do like about my job is that it's never monotonous, and we're, in auditing and public accounting, you have a bunch of different clients, and you're working with different engagement teams. So on a weekly basis, I'm working with different groups and different clients, different CEOs, different controllers, accounting staff. So, and that's a big misconception. One thing we look for in our firm is people who are sociable and can talk to people, because half our job really is documentation, communicating, and talking with clients and that sort of thing. So just to clarify that real quick. For me personally, I kind of have since I have kind of a weird setup where I work from home or work from the Tulsa office, my big perk is I get to wear sweatpants and hoodies to work every day. So I roll out of bed later than most people probably, and just get on my computer and just do what I need to do for the day and travel as needed. But public accounting is challenging, and there's, it's not boring. There's always, something going on, people to talk to. So I get work to do this, so it's a good job for me.
I love my clients. They're just awesome. Hanging out with them and spending time with them and hearing their visions to change the world is just really fun. For example, last week I was in Atlanta and I got to spend time with a missionary there who has a vision to mobilize 500 more missionaries to India and reach remote villages there. And he wants to do it through the concept of communion. So his vision is to bring churches around the world together in communion. So sharing in the covenant of Jesus' sacrifice, and what did he sacrifice for? He sacrificed so that people might have the opportunity to know him, and inviting them to be in communion with them to reach the people of India. So it's people like that I get to serve, and they're so creative and so innovative as to like how they think that various possibilities could come together to reach people and change the world. So I really enjoy my clients. The second thing that I enjoy is just when I see people getting it. So there's nothing like creating and developing a brand and hearing someone else talk about it, that they don't know that you created that brand. That is so fun, and I've had it happen on numerous occasions. So very satisfying to see my clients reach their goals. It's not the most lucrative industry that I'm in. We work really hard, long hours, but probably don't get the same kind of financial results. But when you see, I'm hoping in 3 to 5 years to see 500 more missionaries in India working in remote villages. And if and when that happens, that'll be really satisfying. So it's those kind of aha moments that make it all worth it in my industry. It's not as glamorous as it sounds, but I get to work with people that I really believe in. So that's really fun.
What's one piece of career advice you wish you had received but didn't when you graduated from college? And we might combine that with what surprised you most about the working world when you started your career?
I think my biggest thing that I wish someone had said to me was that, I think we all know that once you start your job, it's going to be hard and, it takes time to learn and that sort of thing. But I wish that someone had just been like, don't be discouraged and just understand that a job takes time to learn. I remember I started my job in busy season right off the bat, and I was out in Midland, Texas on audit my first week. And after 2 weeks, I was just like, wow, this is really hard. And I didn't know, I called my mom and I was like, I don't know if I can do this. Have I made like a terrible mistake, like in my whole career now is like ruined kind of thing. And it was a little overwhelming and stressful at first, but I think it's just one of those things where you just understand that, it takes time and you'll get through it. And, eventually things started clicking and, I learned to do things and I just kept learning and eventually I got it down type thing. So I would just say don't be discouraged, even if you, feel like it's a little overwhelming or too much at the time. From an accounting standpoint, and this is stress, but definitely get your CPA as quickly as possible because once you start a job, it's extremely difficult to do both at the same time.
I might say, Brandon, that Midland, Texas is not the place to make career decisions, is it? So.
It's a little barren out there.
Yeah.
On it's kind of the same note he had, if you're planning on getting a master's, there's kind of two schools of thought. One is do it now while you have the time, and one is wait till you have work experience. Well, I went ahead and just did it right out of college, and I knew that I wasn't probably going to get a job that required an MBA without any work experience. So I knew that going into it, and I think if that's kind of your mindset, if you want to get it done out of the way, just kind of know you might be one of the lucky few that lands a executive type job right out of the gate, but know that you'll probably have to work, and put in the time and build up your resume. You're always going to have those letters behind your name, so you have to earn the other stuff, the experience. And I think that was one thing that once I got to my MBA that I kind of realized was, well, I'm not going to this isn't going to just. I'm not going to hand someone my diploma and they're going to just hand me this job. You're going to have to work and probably maybe do something you don't love for a while. Maybe you will find your dream job right away. And I think that's probably one thing that I wish they would have told me is you don't have to have your dream job as your first job. You don't. You may work some internships that you don't love. You may work a few jobs you don't love. And I think you don't have to have your 5-year plan perfect. You don't have to follow it to a T. I'm a planner, so I tried to plan out, I got married and I bought a house and I did all those things on my timeline, but now I'm like, do I want kids? I don't know. It was on my 5-year plan, but now I don't know if I want kids yet, So know that you probably, you don't make a plan, but that allow yourself to adjust and take opportunities as they come, and change your direction. It's okay. You don't have to know when you're a freshman what you're going to be doing when you're 30. But do your due diligence and apply for jobs and get internships and do those things. So that would probably be. Is there a second half of that I missed?
What I think you covered it. The piece of career advice.
Oh yeah. So all right. Thank you.
If I could go back and talk to myself, I think I would probably told myself to focus on relationships a little bit more right when I started my career. So you get into a job and you have this idea in your mind that you want to prove yourself. And so you just put your head down and you work really, really hard, which is important too. But I did it to the point where I was working 7:30 to 5:30, working through lunch, and I wasn't building any relationships with my coworkers. And I kind of went through that my first year, and I think that was a mistake for multiple reasons. Number one, it helps your career to build those relationships. You do need to prove yourself and show that you have a good work ethic, but you need to make friends, across the company and the agencies that you work with. And the second thing is just as a Christian and the platform to share your faith, you need to build those relationships. And the most surprising thing, I think Brandon touched on it a little bit, is just the level of responsibility that you have right when you start. I thought, I'll have some lead time, they'll give me a little chance, they'll train me a bunch, and then, 6 months down the road, that's when I'll really start working. No. Day one, you're expected to achieve at a very, very high level. And like you said, just stay patient and rely on your training and your education, and you'll get there.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. Let's go here. Oh, yes, Charity? I'm sorry.
No problem. I think the single greatest piece of advice that I received that I could give back to you is that you've just started your journey of learning. That as much as you feel maybe you have learned, you're going to learn so much more when you get into the field that you're wanting to work in. And so to continue to have the posture of a learner will get you really far, and your boss will really appreciate it. And I think that probably every home run that I ever hit in my career has been because I've taken the posture of learning from my clients, learning from my bosses, learning from my authority, learning from my professors. I was one that I went back to get my MBA 5 years after I graduated. So I didn't go do it immediately. And I was able to customize my learning of my MBA to exactly what I felt that I needed within my career in that moment, which was super helpful. So there's two schools of thoughts, and definitely neither one is right or wrong. It's just what works best for you and your career path. But just take the posture of a learner, and the moment that you feel like you have it all figured out, maybe take a step back and continue to ask questions. And I'm 10 years into my career and still feel that I'm learning so much every day. And I'm in such a dynamic industry that the moment that I think I have it all figured out, everything's going to change, and then I become irrelevant. And so that's a dangerous place to be as well. So just be open-handed. It would be the suggestion that I would have.
Good. Keep the mic, Charity, and I'll ask you this question. Everybody has the same challenge, keeping personal life and business life, work life balanced, but Charity has two 2.5-year-old boys and yet travels the world. And so give us an idea of how you keep a balance between home and work.
Oh my goodness. Stephanie. So my work balance is a really hard one. I think part of what helps me out is that I do own my own business, so I'm able to customize my hours when I need to. So it's not as simple if you work a typical 9 to 5. So sometimes my hours are 9 to 3 and then 7 to 10. Or sometimes my hours will be, so I really vary and customize my work according to what I need to get done in the week and then what my family demands are. I do have two 2.5-year-olds that my husband and I adopted from Ethiopia last year. And so bringing them home was a huge learning curve for us. So whenever you guys get there to that stage of life, you're not there yet, most of you. So whenever you get there, I think it's just, a lot of communication with your staff and a lot of empowerment. I've had to learn over the years that it's not about what I can do, it's about the team. And really investing in my team and hiring competent people. I looked over at Stephanie because I was, thinking to myself like, well, I'm able to manage my work-life balance because I have fabulous people on my staff. And so that's really what it comes down to is, it's really easy when you're a newlywed or when you're single for that to be all about you. It's impossible once you have children for it to be all about you. You have to rely on your team members more, which I think is really healthy because it allows other people to learn and to grow and flourish and be a part.
That's right. So, for Brandon, NATALIE, and DALIE, would you give us an idea? Charity said she'd like to see 500 new missionaries in India as a result partially of her efforts. What do you want to see happen job-wise in the next 5-10 years for you? What's your dream, Brandon?
That's kind of a tough question, actually. I'm going to be honest. I don't know where I'll be in 5 years. I went the public accounting route because I knew it would be good experience and got my CPA and that sort of thing. To be completely honest, I'm still trying to figure out exactly what it is I want to do with that kind of background. So, in 5 years I could still be in public accounting. I don't plan on leaving like, anytime soon kind of thing. But if an opportunity presented itself to where I could kind of use that as a background experience that I've gained and maybe do something else that's not purely accounting or maybe more of a consulting thing or that sort of thing, I'm kind of open to it. So I guess I'm a perfect example of you don't necessarily have to have your 5-year plan, because I don't really know what mine is right now, to be completely honest. So.
Yeah. And that's typical public accounting, is that you're just waiting for the first good offer, really good offer.
Really good offer, yeah.
Okay, Natalie.
I'm kind of with him on that. Like I said, sales is a hard gig, and it's there's definitely benefits, but it's also a pretty tough job. And I know that when I get to be at a charity stage of life where I do have toddlers running around, I don't know what type of job I'll want at that point in time, because I know it'd be pretty hard to do what I do now with little kids. So I'm kind of in the same boat. I've learned a lot in sales. I've learned a lot about myself, and I've learned a lot about, how to communicate with people, how to manage my time. I've basically all the skills I learned in college, I'm using a lot of them every single day. And so with that experience and, getting some more experience under my belt, I can see myself doing more of a training type role, moving into more of a management type role, or even utilizing my marketing degree and going that route as well. So I'm still really open to what the future holds. There's a lot of job progression options within my company, and then of course I have to think about what I would do if I didn't stay with Liberty as well. So like I said, yeah, I'm 3 years out of college, and my 5-year plan's pretty open. So yeah, I don't know.
Daly has ideas. He's futuristic, I think.
Yeah, do you guys still do your top 5 strengths?
Yes.
I'm guessing.
You have
Yeah.
futuristic, Daly?
Yes, futuristic's my
so
number
he
one.
has several ideas here.
So my marketing director, who has kind of become my mentor at Bass Pro, always tells me to look 2 jobs ahead, not just 1 job ahead, which I thought was interesting. And it's also unique because that's his job. So I thought, you can fix this right now and just give me your job, but he won't do that. So I'm always looking 2 jobs ahead, and outside of that, I really want to stay within the retail space if I can help it. I just love that marketing side of things. And then to go even further, when you look at retail as a whole, brick and mortar is growing at about a 3% rate year over year. So it's still the breadwinner. It still drives the most sales in the United States, but online is growing at a 15% rate. And it's going to catch up. So I'd like to stay in the retail space and in the e-commerce space. And hopefully within the next 5 years, I can make that step 2 jobs ahead.
Okay, great, thank you. Let's take some questions from students. Who has a question? Okay, Philip?
I have a question for Mr. Porter. You said when you got your 4 months after you graduated CPA, how long did you wait before you got your job at Evangel?
Yeah. I graduated in May of 2010, and then I studied for about 4 or 5 months. I can't remember exactly the time frame, 4 to 6 months. I started my job at Grant Thornton in January of 2011, so there's about whatever that is, 7-month gap or whatever. I had my job like when I was graduating. I just knew I just needed to get my CPA done, so did that, and then I finished that, and then just went straight to my job.
I guess the next question would be, what qualifications, specific skills do you have that make you, desirable for that position?
For the accounting position? As terms of kind of like a resume type thing. Yeah, I actually took a year off of school, my senior year, and I interned with IBM for a year. For me, that was kind of my most marketable thing at the time. I can tell you from this standpoint, because I do work on the recruiting side of things too for Grant Thornton. I can tell you, first we look at GPA. From an accounting standpoint, we look at GPA, and then since it's accounting and it's more technical kind of thing as opposed to management or marketing, which you're trying to show your skills type thing more. We're just looking for people who are personable and sociable and that sort of thing. But GPA and then some just extracurricular activities. But we do a lot of internship programs, And during our interview process, like I said, I know it sounds kind of tacky, like sociable people, but just people that seem like they'd be a good fit in our firm type thing. I don't know, did that answer your question?
Okay, somebody else? Yes, ma'am.
How did the liberal arts degree from here help you guys in your jobs?
Charity, or do you have?
Yeah. Lots of different ways that the degrees from here helped. I think just having, first of all, I mean, a private school education is, in my opinion, a cut above. I went to Missouri State for my MBA, and I felt like just the quality of education and the amount of one-on-one time that I got with professors here was spectacular. You know, I mean, I really got out of it here what I put into it. And so, you know, I think, you know, first of all, quality of education, of the fact that the professors here really made a investment in my life, not just, you know, somebody that I saw from the podium who taught me every day. And so I was able to ask more, you know, customized questions to my career path. You know, also, once I got into my career, just being able to have them as references and reference points. So, you know, having them as cheerleaders as I, you know, have grown in my career, but also, you know, it's always nice to pivot back and sit down and have a conversation with Bernie Dana or Dennis Wubinaw. You know, there's an atmosphere here that is very, very open to a continual dialogue with students. So I think that you're going to get out of your education here what you put into it.
Okay, thank you. Anybody have a question for Natalie? A specific question, career-wise, for her? Okay, go ahead.
I was going to ask it to the whole panel, I wanted to take it, but we're taught a lot in the business part here about the keys of like delegation. Some days, I mean, all you guys are in leadership positions, you guys should hire and put people on your team. What would you say are the key hurdles for us potential leaders, managers, business people in delegation? Because we've been taught, we know in our heads that to find the right people. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? So, but what were some of the keys that you guys learned in doing that so you could be more successful?
Yeah, that's a constant battle for me because I definitely can be a control freak on, you know, on what I have on my desk to get done that day. And I know that if it's on my list to get done, it'll get done. But if my list is 10 times longer than the time I have in the day, you know, you have to delegate. And for me, I have not been responsible for hiring the people that work on my team. They were already in place when I got here. So that's a hurdle kind of just in getting to know the people on your team, getting to know how they work and what their preferred contact methods are, and, you know, how they like to, you know, do they like to be emailed? Do they like to be IM'd? Do they like to be called? You know, their style, you know, how they interact with people. It's a really big learning curve, especially because a lot of times you will, you know, have a team preset. And then when you're hiring, you also have to decide, you know, what you'd prefer your team to be, you know, made up of, and what kind of personalities you're looking for. And you have to kind of get to know yourself a lot in that process as well, and make sure that you're not being a, you know, dictator. You know, you're someone that they want to work with and not just work under. You know, you're a team. It's not a hierarchy. In most companies, you're a team. Even if your job title is, you know, more advanced than the person on your team, you still have to see them as equals, and that's going to be, if you do that, everything else will fall into place.
Okay, any question in particular for David? Okay, right there.
How did connections at Evangel help you obtain your job?
The main way, so Dr. Wubinaw got me an internship at Silver City. That's kind of how I started my path to having experience. And after that, it just kind of rolled. So I got that internship, and once I had Silver City on my resume, another internship opened up. Once I had two internships on my resume, that's what jobs opened up. So I really used my connections here at Evangel So it's great being, I'm not only a student, but I'm also, I go to church, so that was a unique way that Evangel get to my
I suppose I said no. Yeah. Let's show the panel appreciation. We're running out of time, but it's been great. You guys have done super. We probably have about 3 minutes before we have to give this room up to the next class. So if you have a question to ask them in particular, 15? Oh, sorry, I let it go. Actually, you have more time than that. So if you want to ask them questions directly, this would be the time. And otherwise, you're excused to go to your next class.